Good evening. How are you? I'm doing a stand-in talk because it's only in these late hours when I've had a chance to talk to you. And so I'll be brief because I still have a few things to do before I can hit the sack. The experience I have that you all have is great frustration when day by day we see things that we know to be true represented as false. We, we watch the shamelessness of our public officials who daily diminish our government by acting like a wild group of teenagers seizing and grabbing things for their own pleasure without regard for the offices they hold and the oath that they took to uphold those offices. We are a nation that's promised to take care of people who come here fleeing other lands, including Venezuela, including Europe in certain times. There's not a one of us who may respond to this comment I'm making who doesn't have forebears who came from another country here. And those who were here, the Native Americans, were terribly treated because of international law that said if no one was here, then whoever arrived first owned the land. America is on the crossroads of a rebirth, a renaissance, or death as a republic, an absolute end to the dream that began with men who resisted a monarch hundreds of years ago. And now we have somebody, as far as we can tell, born and bred in America, who would tear all that down and destroy it for his own personal desire to have power and money and whatever else it is that he gets from this. Almost like he's desperate in life to find a meaning except to hurt and punish others without limitation, without restriction. So I enjoyed, in a professional sense, talking with Ari after observing interviews with a mayor in Newark who went to inspect the facility that was going to be used in connection with the arrest of migrants who might be thrown out of the country. And he was resisted as he was there to conduct this business, to inspect the place. And they were after him to leave, and he did. And though he was on public ground and had voluntarily left, they arrested him. And then days later, they said, we shouldn't have done it. And they dismissed the case. But they brought another case against a woman, a member of Congress. And McIver was in videos seen being pressed up against in a crowd and trying to make her way. And they basically accused her pushing her way through the crowd. And I think that's an exaggeration, having seen the picture, because she could hardly move in the frames that I saw. They're trying to claim that's assault and battery. Assault is a crime in which I put you in apprehension of your safety. How could she have done that? Battery is an unconsented touching of another person. But if you're pushed and pushed into someone else, or you panic or something like that, is that the intent to either intimidate a person or to touch them without their volition? It doesn't help the government's case that both the mayor, who is running for governor and is a Democrat and is currently the mayor of Newark, and the congresswoman is also a person of color. How do we distinguish these injustices that should not have resulted in any arrest of either person, other than to say that they were stopped because they were persons of color? And when you consider the rightness of their position to exercise oversight functions on a place that is going to be used, when we have so many data points of how abused our migrants have been by Trump and his corrupt minions, that really sets sets the stage for a major concern. As I'm speaking to you this evening, a judge up in Boston, in another case, you may not have followed this one, but there were certain people, 8 I believe, who satisfied many of the checkoffs for being deported. But under the law, they're required to be given notice of where they're going and a list of where they're going and so forth, and an opportunity to object. That didn't happen. Trump and his people put these people on a plane and sent them to Africa, and not even to the place that they claimed they were going. The judge, to my way of thinking, had the right action in Boston. The judge said, I want a list of all the people who are involved in disobeying with my order because I'm considering contempt against those individuals. That's it. The stick. You've given people a chance to do the right thing. You've given them an order. You've amended your order to explain you meant what you meant, and this is what happens. And there are a whole array of these cases involving the deportation of people being done badly. The government claims to have moved with greater dispatch than others in removing people. They haven't removed as many as was removed properly, as best I can determine, by former President Biden. And if they're going slower now and they're not following the procedure, meaning the quality of the decision is dependent upon not living in a Kafkaesque world, but a world in which you say, I believe you've done this and this is our information. Do you have anything to say for yourself? And then that response is part of what's called due process, fundamental fairness. It's a constitutional right. It's found in our Constitution. It's extended to all the states by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. What kind of people are going out there and defying our Constitution and defying our laws and defying all manner of ethical constraints? And the answer is they don't seem to know a lot. We have one public figure that doesn't know what habeas corpus means, thinks it means that the president is protected if he wants to throw people out of the country, when if anything, it's the opposite, that you have to demonstrate when you're taking a person's freedom and liberty and so forth, you have to tell them what you're doing and why. And it doesn't matter if they're not citizens, because our laws talk about a person. You don't have to be a citizen, and the Supreme Court has considered this. So that's kind of one line of problems that we had, and we discussed it. When I say we discussed it, I conducted interviews, and we had a brief discussion afterwards because the interviews carried a lot of ground. The second one is we're doing something that third world countries do. Trump has identified people, and his minions are announcing investigations. Now, when I was a prosecutor, you did not confirm or deny you were investigating anything or anybody. The public only learned of a charge if there was an indictment. And if there was no indictment, there was no charge. Now, in certain cases, because subpoenas can be issued to people that are not required to be quiet about it, so sometimes an investigation may be known. But it's news to have a so-called Department of Justice or Injustice or the Just Us group who are using the powers they have to compromise individuals who are running for office. As I said, the mayor from Newark is an example of one. But it's interesting, there's a whole group of people. Comey is called because he put something up, former FBI director, because he put up a picture of a bunch of shells on a beach, which he and his wife couldn't first discern. And they just put it up. And they announced an investigation, and he had to answer questions. And frankly, if I was his advisor, I'd tell him pound sand. You think I've committed a crime? Fine. Then do whatever you will. Because when this is over, I'm going to sue you bastards for false arrest. I have a more spirited way of looking at some of these things. I don't have a lot of respect for the Justice Department, never did. It always seemed that one sequence to another would do, there was a political kingdom in which people did very strange things. I think maybe Bobby Kennedy's administration was more productive, but there's stories to tell about Main justice, and I was glad to be a prosecutor up in New York because I thought that we were isolated from that. I'm not sure that any office is isolated from it in the Trump administration. And so that is, the Justice Department is introducing investigations and announcing it, no less than the worthless Attorney General talked about Cuomo, and they claim what he did was a crime and they're looking into it and so forth. There shouldn't be any announcement of that. I don't believe it is a crime. But I do think they've made a mistake here because Trump so hates Cuomo because Cuomo attacked him and might have run for office himself on a national ticket. And I think Trump is anxious about him, but I think he probably makes him as a mayor because New York City likes fighters. And if he's taking on Trump, I think the city could rise to that. So that may have been a mistake. But, you know, Trump is also going after the Attorney General, a woman. And there's a judge that they arrested. And so you get the idea that what they're trying to do is to diminish the order that was conceived of by our founding fathers, amended and improved, still imperfect, requiring more work, but not by these guys. Because these guys want there to be such chaos. They want people to react so badly to government that was, believing lies about the government that Trump wants and will have if he has his way, because he is the dictator in waiting. And all these people, even those who think they're on his winning side now, will find he's disloyal. As he gets power, he will absorb it like some comic book hero or villain and just keep on going. And they just don't get it. So what this meandering conversation at this late hour has to leave you with is that we have to call out in conversations and emails and newspapers and the contributions we make and maybe running for office or being a delegate to turn the ship of state in the right direction. Because Trump prefers a rudderless ship of state because then he can sink it and replace it with a dictatorship. We, you and I, are of the school that we want to preserve and protect our Constitution and our democracy, something that Trump swore to do but says he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. So those are a couple of thoughts I had. If you saw Ari's show, I think you probably have a good idea of how these issues fill out by the people that are involved in them. So tomorrow, I don't know if it's raining or whatever, but I hope to be out, and I'll talk to you some more. All the best. Bye-bye.